Greetings, everyone. Before we dive into the episode, I have a quick announcement to make. After years of breaking down real-world encounters and unpacking the legal nuance of police interactions, we're excited to share something we've been working on for a long time, the Civilian Rights Hand Guide. It's a thorough and comprehensive guide designed to help you understand your rights and navigate encounters with law enforcement confidently. This book is simple, easy to read, and packed with practical advice and real-world insights that anyone can use, whether you're preparing for the unexpected or just want to be better informed. This book covers everything you wish you had been taught in school about how to interact with the police, and puts it into one easily digestible resource. The Civilian Rights Hand Guide is also a great way to introduce new people to the idea of civilian rights without having them watch hundreds of hours of body cam footage, and it would make a great stocking stuffer for friends or loved ones this holiday season. If you've ever found value in the content we create here, then you're going to find this guide incredibly useful. We spent a lot of time making sure that we crafted a book that would genuinely help people understand their rights and what to actually do during and after police interactions. It's available now exclusively on Amazon, and it's a great way to support what we do while arming yourself with knowledge. You can find a link in the description and pinned comment. I also wanted to take a moment to say thank you to this community. Without you, none of this would be possible, and we sincerely appreciate your support. We hope that the Civilian Rights Hand Guide can become a staple for educating citizens on this topic, and with your support, that may be a real possibility. Thank you so much for your support over the years. Now, let's dive into the episode. Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers identifications, reasonable suspicion, and Miranda rights, and is brought to us by Kansas City Accountability's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On November 4th, 2024, First Amendment auditor Asiel Moses, the owner of the Kansas City Accountability YouTube channel, was filming on the street in Grandview, Missouri, near a branch of the North American Savings Bank, when he was approached by Officer Thornton Savage and later Officer Bo Bailey of the Grandview Police Department. Mr. Moses continued to film the events that unfolded.
We go. All right.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm okay.
What you doing right now?
Just recording.
Is there a reason for recording?
I got a camera.
They're just concerned because apparently individual matching your description has been doing this a lot at NASB locations.
Okay, you got your name and badge number, sir?
Officer Savage, Grandview Police Department, badge number 0315.
Thank you so much for being professional. Yes, sir. I'm just recording. I didn't even speak to nobody.
I know, but they see you out here and they're concerned that you're possibly casing the place.
Say that one more time.
Casing the place?
I'd rather roll a joint than case one.
Okay, no, I get that.
Yeah.
So is it like for a YouTube website, or is it just recording just because you want to situation?
I'm just recording.
Is there a reason you're doing this building?
I was actually just walking all the way around.
Just walking all the way around?
Yeah.
This building, or just walking around?
Just around the whole area. Is that fine?
That's fine. They're just concerned, so we're out here just talking to you.
Well, I have no ill intent, nothing like that. Nothing nefarious going on. Just recording.
Apparently
Yes,
he's just out here recording the fine scenery.
Yeah. Can I get your name and badge number as well, sir?
Yeah, if you want, it's Bailey 0198.
Thank you so much for being professional.
You doing all right today?
I was just hanging around. It ain't as cold as I thought it would be.
Oh, yeah.
With the temperature dropping down.
Yeah.
How did daylight saving affect you guys?
I wasn't working, so.
Yeah.
Usually the guys are working, they got to work an extra hour. Have you been doing this at other NASB locations, or this is like the first time you've been doing it?
What you mean?
Because they talk to each other, right? All the
Okay.
NASB ones talk to each other. Apparently they said that, and like I said before, individual matching your description's been doing this a few times. Is it like, do you like the NASB structures or something like that?
My description?
Yeah.
What description they give?
Sombrero style hat, black male, gray sweats, gray sweater with a camera.
You agree with that?
That's what we were told.
Yeah. Banks.
Yeah, that's how it was dispatched.
Man, I come in peace, man. No ill intent. I mean, if they would have came and talked to me, they would have seen I'm pretty like a real chill, cool guy. And where you guys police station at?
Well, normally it's at 1200 Main Street. But we're working out of the View right now.
The who?
3,500 buyers. It's a community center.
It's community center?
Yeah, they've renovated the city hall and police station up here, and they're about done with it.
So that is you guys' police station? It's the city hall and police station connected?
City hall's up top, we're at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay.
We're in the basement.
And how long y'all been on the force?
17 years.
Okay. You look young. I wouldn't have guessed it.
Well,
if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, how old are you?
42.
You 42?
Yeah. You stay around here, what, man?
What do you mean?
You stay around, where you live at? Are you from Grandview?
I'm from Earth.
Earth?
Yeah, from this planet.
Likewise.
Yeah, where you from?
Earth.
Okay. Hey, see, look at y'all. Y'all pretty cool, man. I like y'all.
Trying to be.
Yeah, so man, I'm not gonna be long, you know, just gonna be out here getting a couple shots.
Okay.
That's cool.
So
You have an ID on you real quick?
you need my ID?
Just to document who we talked to. Because here's the thing, right? Legally, constitutional rights, we have detained you for a little bit, so we need to make a real quick record
So
of that.
hold on. This was good. So you just illegally detained me?
I didn't say that.
You just said you detained me.
Yeah. It's not illegal.
For what crime?
We got a call out here. It's a police call.
That's okay, you getting a call, but now you just said you detained me. To detain somebody, you need reasonable, articulable suspicion of a crime. So what crime did you detain me for?
We've already explained why we're here.
You just said
I'm
you
just
got a
going to
call.
document your name and date of birth that said that we talked to you.
Okay, I don't have to get my ID.
Yeah, you do.
No, I do. Let's get a supervisor out here. Let's get a captain out here, sir.
Well, the captain ain't going to come out for this.
He's going to come out for this, sir.
No,
Yes,
he will not.
Yes, he is, buddy.
Well, let me explain
Yes,
to you.
he is,
Let me
buddy.
explain to you.
I was going to see how much you was going to trample on my rights. Now, you guys looked good for a second.
No,
but now you trying
we're
to
not trampling on any
well,
rights.
I'm in public.
Yes,
doing
you
nothing
are.
nefarious.
Okay.
And you just walk up and ask me for my ID.
Except that we got a police call for service.
That's
out here.
fine. That's fine. You can do that.
The caller articulated who you are, what you were doing as
No
far
crime.
as your physical description.
No crime.
Based on that suspicious call for service.
Is suspicious a misdemeanor or a felony?
Suspicious
It's
act.
neither.
Suspicious
Come on,
act.
y'all looked like some good guys. Y'all just flipped the script.
Hold on.
Y'all just flipped the script.
Hold on, because I'm trying to explain it to you.
Go ahead.
Right? Because we're out here for a lawful call for service,
Uh-huh.
and we contacted you
Uh-huh.
lawfully. But okay, you don't have to agree. I'm just telling you
we
this
most
is the
definitely
law.
finna try. Okay, I'm going to the police department. That's not law. That's not law, sir.
So,
that's not law. To show ID, sir.
Can I ask what you've been doing?
You need reasonable,
Let
articulable
me ask you what you do for a
suspicion
living,
that
man.
a crime is being committed. Now, you cannot
Okay.
turn. Look, he putting his gloves. He ready to go hands on.
He's cold-blooded. Hey, listen.
My hand's cold.
What do you do for a living?
Why does it matter?
I'm just curious now. You was asking me all kinds of questions and I answered them. Come on now.
That's fine.
And you know what I do for a living. I'm asking you what you do for a
using
living.
police tactics now.
I'm asking what because I want to explain
Okay,
something to you.
I'd rather not answer that.
Okay, you don't have to.
I'm just out here exercising rights.
Okay.
Now, and if you're trying to turn legal, constitutional, protected activity into a crime to try to get my ID, that look bad, Officer Bailey.
I'm not saying that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Am I legally required to give you my ID right now on this call?
You are.
I am not.
Yes, you are.
Officer Bailey contends that Mr. Moses is legally obligated to provide his ID. Now, while Section 84.710 of the Missouri Revised Statutes gives Kansas City police officers the authority to order individuals to identify themselves based on reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, this statute is only applicable in Kansas City, not the city of Grandview, and there is no other state-level stop and identify statute in Missouri. However, Section 34-25 of the Grandview Code of Ordinances states that, quote, "It shall be unlawful for any person to hinder, obstruct, or otherwise interfere with any city officer or member of the police force in the discharge of such officer's official duties." And Section 34-26 states that, quote, "No person shall fail to obey the orders of any officer in the discharge of his duties." Now, although neither of these ordinances specifically mandate that individuals must provide identification to officers, courts have interpreted similar laws as requiring identification during a Terry stop. For instance, in the 2010 case of Hinesley versus City of Lake Ozark, the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Missouri determined that an officer had probable cause to arrest a citizen who failed to comply with his demands for identification under a municipal ordinance that prohibited willfully failing or refusing to comply with the lawful order or direction of a police officer. Accordingly, given the broad language of the Grandview ordinances, it is certainly possible that a court could interpret one or both of them as criminalizing the refusal refusal to identify under certain circumstances. Nonetheless, as we have discussed many times before here on ATA, the Supreme Court determined in the 1979 case of Brown versus Texas that citizens cannot be arrested for failing to identify themselves to officers who do not have reasonable suspicion to believe they are engaged in criminal conduct. Now, we will discuss whether the officers had sufficient evidence to detain Mr. Moses later in this episode. But for now, it is important to understand that Mr. Moses could not be required to identify himself unless the officers had reasonable suspicion to believe that he was potentially engaged in criminal activity.
Yes, let's get a captain out here, sir.
No, captain's not going to come out here.
Let's get a captain. If somebody's trying to infringe on your rights, a captain should come out here. If I'm calling somebody higher than you, sir.
What'll happen is you'll be placed under arrest for failing to identify
That's
yourself.
a secondary crime. You got to commit a first crime first to even have to ID, sir.
No.
Yes, you do.
No.
I challenge you on that, sir. You
But
willing to arrest you?
You don't want to do that because
that's on you, sir. That's on you. Your qualified immunity is gone. Everything because you stepping on constitutional rights now, Mr. Officer Bailey.
Okay, but can I explain something to you? I've been doing this line of work for 17 years, right?
Okay.
I have done that without complaint or lawsuit on my record.
Okay, this will be the first.
No, it won't be.
This will be the first, sir.
This is the thing.
Go ahead.
Between the two of us, I am the subject matter expert on the law, and that includes constitutional law. I have hundreds of hours of study and application of that in my line of work. We are out here for a lawful reason. You've been contacted for a lawful purpose, us performing our duties. That is 100% true, whether you like it or not. And it is within that course of my duties that I'm asking you to provide a name and date of birth that I can verify, and we can let you go.
That's incorrect. Let me ask you a question.
I'm not going to ask you again.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question now.
I will answer it, and then you will identify yourself, and you will go to jail.
If I'm standing on the sidewalk eating a bowl of cereal, and someone don't like that, just listen. This is First Amendment, freedom of the press.
And I'm not stopping you from recording.
But that's what you're doing.
No, I'm not stopping you.
Anybody can say anything is suspicious. So listen, sir, and you say you've been doing this for so long, and you should even know this too. What was your name again?
Officer Savage.
Savage. Listen, to get someone ID, they have to commit a crime,
no, they don't.
not just a service call.
They don't.
They do, sir.
All we need is reasonable suspicion, and we've
of a
reached
crime.
that.
Of a crime. What crime am I doing? I'm simply just recording, sir.
Mr. Moses argues that recording in public cannot be the basis for reasonable suspicion. As we have often discussed here on ATA, the Supreme Court has consistently acknowledged that the First Amendment protects so-called news-gathering activities, like filming in public places. Although the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Missouri, has not specifically recognized a First Amendment right to film in public, in the 2020 case of Chestnut versus Wallace, the court determined that citizens have a, now quoting, clearly established right to watch police-citizen interactions at a distance and without interfering. In reaching this conclusion, the court cited favorably to other circuit cases establishing First Amendment protections for filming the police, noting that, now quoting, every circuit court to have considered the question has held that a person has the right to record police activity in public. Therefore, while Mr. Moses was detained for filming a bank rather than recording the police, it seems highly likely that a court would conclude his recording was covered by the First Amendment. However, even when an individual is engaged in First Amendment protected filming, courts may still determine that the officer has reasonable suspicion to detain them in situations where they are involved in unusual or suspicious activity. For example, in the 2017 case of Turner versus Driver, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals granted qualified immunity to officers who detained a citizen for filming the quote-unquote routine activities of a police station from a public sidewalk across the street, even after recognizing a First Amendment right to record the police in public. In reaching this conclusion, the court reasoned that, now quoting, it is appropriate for the police to take into account the location of the suspicious conduct and the degree of the potential danger being investigated. What is not suspicious in one location may be highly suspicious in another. The court also acknowledged that filming in front of the police station, now quoting again, potentially threatened security procedures at a location where order was paramount, ultimately concluding that an objectively reasonable person could have suspected that the citizen was casing the station for an attack, stalking an officer, or otherwise preparing for criminal activity, and thus could have found his filming of the routine activities of the station sufficiently suspicious to warrant questioning and a brief detention. Now, while Mr. Moses' conduct in filming on the street was seemingly innocuous in this situation, when combined with the security concerns of the bank and the fact that the bank employees reported seeing him filming outside their premises multiple times, it is certainly possible that a court court could find that the officers had the reasonable suspicion necessary to detain Mr. Moses, particularly given the relatively low threshold of evidence required for an officer to establish reasonable suspicion of criminal activity.
I've already asked. I've already asked.
Now you can politely. Yes, and I did nothing wrong.
And I asked you a handful of questions.
So let me ask you this. Me doing nothing wrong. Just simply out here with my GoPro in public because someone don't like me pointing at their building. There's no expectation of privacy in public. I'm exercising constitutional protected rights.
I completely understand what you're
And I wouldn't resist or anything if you guys want to attack me or anything. I see you trying to circle behind me. I come in peace. I'm really the most chill guy. But my thing is, I exercise my rights and I don't let anyone infringe on the rights.
Okay. We were out here on a suspicious activity call.
That's not a crime.
Every legal right to identify you.
To
identify you. There's case law. You need to
what
do
law
your
is
research.
it? He's been here for 12 minutes. You've been here for
12 minutes.
14 and a half.
12 minutes.
We just been having a cordial conversation.
Except
being cool guys.
Okay. Let me ask you a question then. Did you feel like you had the right to leave at every moment of this conversation?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
When I see you coming, like, why would I run from you? I did nothing wrong.
You were gonna run.
So when you came, I'm like, let me just have a cordial conversation. Because my thing is, I love shining light on the police.
Okay.
Now, whether you look good or bad, that's on you.
No,
I'm actually here to make you guys look good. To show that you know the law.
I do.
That's all I do.
But here's the problem, and you know.
That's all I do.
You know the basic constitutional rights. That's very clear. What you haven't studied.
That's all I'm exercising.
Is the case law that comes from that stuff. Thousands and thousands and thousands of police calls for service and contacts every single year, and they all go just like this.
I do, Officer Bailey, sir.
Okay, but you don't know because you would know what I'm saying is accurate.
I have rights to privacy, sir. I don't have to show my ID if I haven't committed a crime. And then you said failure to ID. I have to commit a crime first to show you my ID. Failure to ID is a secondary crime, sir. How am I educating you on 17 years on this?
You're not educating me because you're incorrect.
Me recording is my First Amendment. You're asking me for my ID. This is the fourth.
I'm going to arrest you at this point.
I'm not going to resist.
Yeah, okay. You're under arrest.
I'm under arrest.
Mr. Moses asserts that failure to ID is a secondary crime and that he is only obligated to identify himself if he has committed a crime, and Officer Bailey places him under arrest. As mentioned earlier in this episode, in jurisdictions with so-called stop and ID laws, individuals can be arrested for refusing to identify themselves to an officer who has reasonable suspicion that they may be engaged in illegal activity, even if no crime has actually been committed. This means that there are situations where citizens may be legally required to identify themselves even though they have done nothing wrong, as reasonable suspicion can arise from entirely innocent non-criminal behavior. In fact, the infamous Terry case, which established the so-called reasonable suspicion standard, upheld the constitutionality of detaining 3 men who were acting suspiciously but not violating any laws, as the officer suspected them of casing a store for a potential robbery. Accordingly, even though Mr. Moses had not committed a crime when the officers ordered him to identify himself, a court could still conclude that he could be arrested for refusing to comply if it also concluded that the officers had reasonable suspicion that he might have been involved in criminal activity. The officers allowed Mr. Moses to continue filming during the initial phases of his arrest, eventually turning off his camera. However, Mr. Moses obtained body camera and dash cam footage from the encounter, which show his arrest in its entirety.
I'm going to arrest you at this point.
I'm not going to resist.
Yes, okay, you're under arrest.
I'm under arrest.
I'm not going to take that out of your hand yet. For nothing, dude. All you had to tell me was your name.
I did nothing wrong.
One in custody. You did, and I've explained it to you, and because you don't like it. Because you don't like it.
That's not it, sir.
Because you don't exercise the rights. Okay. So you're a First Amendment auditor, probably. Probably got a YouTube channel, think you're cool, bunch of followers. You don't understand the law like I do.
I do, sir.
You don't.
I didn't do nothing wrong.
Because I don't come to your place. I don't come to your place of business and tell you how to do your job.
I'm not at your place of business.
You are.
I'm in public, sir.
You are at my place of business.
Where do I operate?
All right, for your safety, safety in mind, I'm going to pat you down. Do you have anything on you that
I have nothing on me,
hopefully hurt your
nothing. Okay. I ain't nothing on me. Ain't nothing in my pocket but my cell phone.
Where's your ID at?
I don't have my
cell
ID.
phone keys.
What's your last name? What's your last name, sir?
You said you arrested me. I had a right to remain silent. You need to read me my rent.
This is not a guilt-seeking question, and I don't need to read your your Miranda rights. Again, you're incorrect.
After placing Mr. Moses under arrest, Officer Bailey asks him his last name, and Mr. Moses protests, arguing that he has not been read his Miranda rights. As we explored in previous episodes of ATA, the Supreme Court concluded in the landmark 1966 case of Miranda versus Arizona that law enforcement officers must inform suspects of their constitutional rights under the Fifth and Sixth Amendment, such as the right to remain silent and the right to counsel, before they can be subjected to so-called in-custody interrogation. Now, while there may be situations where an individual is found to be in custody even if they are not formally arrested, because Mr. Moses had unquestionably been placed under arrest, it is almost certain that a court would conclude that he was in custody for Miranda purposes. However, this does not necessarily mean that Officer Bailey was required to read Mr. Moses his Miranda rights before asking him any questions. In the 1990 case of Pennsylvania versus Muniz, the Supreme Court held that Miranda warnings are not required before officers ask routine booking questions about a suspect's name, address, date of birth, and other basic identifying information. While Miranda warnings may be required for booking questions that go beyond standard administrative information and are intended to elicit incriminating information, in this situation, it is likely that a court would conclude that Officer Bailey was not required to read Mr. Moses his Miranda rights before he could ask him any biographical details, such as his last name.
Okay. What is your last name? 15 years. Identify yourself is only going to make your booking process take infinitely longer.
That's a secondary crime, so I didn't do that.
We're not debating it at this point. What is your last name?
Okay.
What is your last name? Okay. You just ID at the jail, or you'll sit there.
I had the right to remain silent.
I'm not asking you guilt-seeking questions, dude. No, your ID is not a guilt-seeking question.
Okay.
Did you collect this property yet?
No, I don't have nothing on me.
Hey, do you
Just the phone and this.
I am going to stop your recording. Our recording is going, and you'll have access to that. How do you stop that?
You'll push the, you already stopped it. Now what you gonna do? You're gonna hold that left button.
This one here?
Hold it.
Okay. Push and hold it. And what's it gonna do?
It's gonna go on.
Okay.
So go ahead and take a seat in there.
Yeah, I did nothing wrong.
Okay.
Standing in public.
I can't help but you're refusing to understand
Anybody
this.
can say somebody is suspicious, sir.
What is suspicious about somebody gaining video intel on a bank? You tell me that.
Sir,
Think
you
about
just
that.
said you can't see nothing. I'm not even looking at them.
I was in polite conversation. I would have had the same answer
I'm
as
just
him,
standing
man.
outside. I wasn't even just looking at just the bank. I'm recording I walked up the street recording everything.
Okay. They have a right to be concerned for their
Just because
security.
I'm walking and I point the camera their way.
I can't help that you don't understand. So that
Me walking in public.
Okay,
and the officer just rolling up saying, hey, they saying you look suspicious because you point your camera at them. What?
Okay.
You should have been there. Hey, sir, you should have went to what should have happened was.
Okay. I'm not going to have you tell me how to do my job because you're wrong.
He did nothing wrong.
You're wrong.
Ain't nothing.
Stop. I'm trying to explain procedure to you now, sir. I'm trying to explain something to you.
I wonder if that's his Challenger over there.
Could be.
Hey, do you want to?
I'm going to go out holler him.
You want to go talk to the bank? Because they said that they got reports of this guy. Maybe they might know who he is. All right.
According to Mr. Moses, he was taken to jail and placed in a holding cell for over 2 hours, but eventually released without any charges being filed. Mr. Moses continued to film after he was dropped off near the location he was arrested.
They took me to jail. This is Bailey, bro. I just got out of booking. I just got out of jail. I didn't give them my name. Y'all can't get nothing from me. I didn't give them my name. They took me to jail. I tried to tell them, y'all. Do you want to call a captain? You want to get somebody that know what's going on and ask them what's going on? He said he been on the force 17 years. He know what's going on, and I'm obligated to give him my my ID. Let me get my stuff, y'all. Y'all already know what's next. Y'all already know what we got to do.
After his release, Mr. Moses shared his footage on his YouTube channel, and as mentioned earlier in this episode, he also obtained and published the body camera and dash cam footage. Mr. Moses has stated that he intends to pursue civil legal action regarding the arrest. Overall, Officer Savage and Officer Bailey get a C Because while they started out strong by engaging with Mr. Moses in a cordial and respectful manner, they unreasonably escalated the situation by demanding Mr. Moses provide identification and unnecessarily arresting him when he refused to do so. While it is possible that a court could conclude that the officers were within their authority to demand ID or even arrest Mr. Moses, there are many ways that this encounter could have ended in a more productive and positive manner. It was evident from the officer's interactions with Mr. Moses that he was most likely not casing the bank, and Officer Bailey indicated that he wanted his identification in order to document the encounter, not to continue his investigation. But when Mr. Moses refused to provide his identification in an attempt to exercise his rights, Officer Bailey's ego appeared to get involved, and he chose to arrest Mr. Moses, despite the fact that any suspicion that may have initially justified a detention should have been dispelled by their conversation. Although Officer Bailey was correct in some of his assertions regarding the law, the Grandview officers failed to adequately exercise their discretion and avoid an unnecessary arrest that did not serve any substantive purpose, and ultimately did not lead to any charges being filed. Mr. Moses gets a B, because although he demonstrated some misunderstandings regarding the standard of evidence required for identifications and when Miranda warnings are necessary, he maintained a respectful but firm demeanor throughout the encounter and took appropriate steps to document the interaction and obtain and share additional footage after the fact. While I do appreciate Mr. Moses' positive and friendly style of auditing, he also fell victim to some common misconceptions in the auditor community and the general public, including the idea that citizens cannot be required to identify themselves if they have not committed a crime. The reality is that stop and identify laws can be applied when officers have reasonable suspicion to believe that an individual is involved in criminal activity, regardless of whether the individual has actually committed a crime. The standard for reasonable suspicion is less stringent than probable cause, and simply requires an officer to be aware of specific articulable facts that, when taken together with rational inferences, would lead a reasonable officer to believe that criminal activity may be occurring. Reasonable suspicion does not even require that the evidence show it is more likely than not that the suspect was engaged in illegal conduct. Well, given the low threshold for what constitutes reasonable suspicion, I do believe it is possible that a court could conclude that the officers had reasonable suspicion to detain and identify Mr. Moses in this situation, and I would encourage him to continue growing in his understanding of the applicable case law regarding Fourth Amendment seizures. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.